Hey, what's up guys, Sir Emanon here, coming at you today with my Salamangreat deck profile actually. So if you guys have been following my community posts on the channel, you'll notice that I did play this deck yesterday, which is pretty interesting because if you have been following my trend and noticing something a bit recently, it's just that I've been playing all sorts of different decks lately, and that's kind of because the meta is really diverse right now, as you guys have seen from the results of not only the UDS that happened last weekend, but also the YCSs that happened in Vegas as well as in Utrecht. So there's a lot of different decks that can be viable right now, from control decks to mid-range decks like this one, and also full-on combo decks like the Rocket Dragon Link deck. All these decks are really good, and there are many things to consider in this format. And the cool thing for me, at least, is I don't really have any premier events or even regionals to go to until Master Duel 2020. So I figured I would just take this time to actually play a lot of different decks and things that are normally outside of my comfort zone, things I don't normally play in person, and just try everything out. And I felt that that would be a good way for me to master the fundamentals, kind of get back into it, because when you play one deck for a long time, you get really good at it, which for me is with Lunalights. But the problem is that you kind of tunnel on one form of gameplay and one perspective, and you kind of lose out on the other mechanical skills that this game has to offer. So being able to play things like control decks and, again, just pretty much every variety of deck that I mentioned previously, just being able to have those skill sets under my belt, I feel is a good thing as far as preparation for ultimately YCS Hartford and Nats this year, which are going to be the two main events that I'll be going to. But yeah, this is the list that I actually took, and I was pretty happy with it. There are some things I would change, which I will get into as we discuss, but yeah, without further ado, let's just go ahead and talk about it. So for the normal summon starters, I played 3 Debug and 1 Buffalo. I was kind of adamant on playing a specific number of normal summons, being 4. I felt that 5 would be a bit too cloggy as far as just trying to have too many normal summons, and the question I kind of asked myself was, if I were to have both Debug and Buffalo in my hand, which one would I want to be summoning more? And I actually thought that I liked Debug a bit more. There's still certainly debate for either, because Buffalo helps you see side cards and non-engine cards more, and it's harder to stop, whereas Debug gets you a guaranteed play. It doesn't plus you as hard, but you know what you're getting with Debug as opposed to Buffalo, and I really like that. Just getting immediate access to Gazelle is something I appreciated, so that's why I stuck with the 3 Debug. Definitely there are lists that run more Buffalo, and like I've seen 3 Buffalo, 1 Debug, or 3 and 2, or 2 and 2, or just all sorts of ratios. I don't think it's entirely solved yet. I know the first place list that took Salamangreat at Utrecht played, I believe it was 3 Buffalo and 2 Debug, and I don't think there's any one correct way, at least as of yet. It just sort of depends on what you value as far as the guaranteed Gazelle play, or just getting into side cards or non-engine cards. But that's kind of my reasoning for that, and I felt that 4 normal summons was, again, just ensuring that you would draw exactly 1, no more, no less. And even if you don't draw any of these, you still have other these normal summons in the deck, like Foxy, so I felt that it was fine to play sort of less of those. Next up, we have the Gazelle, obviously, and then 3 Foxy. Some people are playing 2 of this, but I just feel like upping consistency is pretty important. And even though Stalio is obviously gone now, it still contributes to just generating advantage, which this deck really appreciates. And I kind of played a higher Salamangreat card count, so this has a pretty high chance of hitting things pretty well. And it's good to be able to just hit other cards, like there can be only one. Is still it's not as popular as it used to be, but it's still a card that you have to respect. So just hitting face-up cards is pretty nice. And hitting Meltdown is also kind of relevant because you want to be able to respond to like certain windows, like after they summon fusion monsters for like Shaddoll Invoked, or like you want to be able to turn on your roar so that you can roar Shaddoll Fusion, for example. So it still comes up to be able to pop back row and stuff. Next up, 2 Spinny. I think 2 has become pretty standard now, and I definitely did miss 3. 3 is like really cloggy, and especially because you don't have Stalio. It's really purely just an extender, but the cool thing with it is actually it does help you get over Winda, because you can boost Jaguar with it, so that's a pretty good interaction to be aware of. But yeah, Spinny is nice, but it's kind of more of a luxury than anything. It's kind of just an extender, like an additional extender, the way that Jaguar is. And Jaguar in most cases is going to be superior to Spinny, because it obviously stays in the graveyard and recycles your engine. So like this card is actually generally better, and I actually liked having the ability to play a lot of rank 4s, not a lot of rank 4s, but just consistently get into them, which is another reason why I value Debug so highly, is that you can actually combo with her if you have an extender to keep her on the board, if you like have access to like some way to get like Jaguar and Grave, obviously, to be able to just overlay with those two. But yeah, Jaguar at 2 is pretty standard. You gotta, respect Crow, respect Call by the Grave, and things that can just banish your stuff, like Invocation, for example. Then I played 2 Foul. I think a lot of people are actually playing 0 this card right now, but again, I really actually enjoy having the rank 4 toolbox engine. Even if I were to cut this down, I still would play at least 1, just because the ability to freeze back row is like really, really potent. It just helps play 3 boards easier, and I really like also chain blocking Gazelle. Like Ash has fallen off in popularity, it's true, but just having the extra safety is nice against things like the mirror match, which definitely still are playing this card. So yeah, definitely enjoy playing Foul for sure. Next up is the 1 Falco. I don't really think I need to explain this. It's pretty good. And then I played 1 copy of Mir. I sort of like took inspiration from a regional topping deck list from last weekend that played this card. He played 2 of it. But I decided that 1 would be interesting to try out, just because it gets things like Jaguar out of your hand where you really want them engraved. It makes your Gazelle freer to send the traps. Because if this is stranded in your hand and you want to like normal summon a Debug, for example, then it's kind of just stuck there. So Mirror is like a searchable way to be able to like either off Debug or even off mining your circle to really just get those cards engraved, and also like has pretty cool interactions. Like you can Falco bounce this to your hand and resummon it, which is pretty nice. Like if you draw these 2, you can like Mirror send Falco to summon it, and then you can like Falco bounce Mirror and then summon Mirror again, and then you still can normal summon, which is pretty cool. So like if you have like a Jaguar, then you can like end on a rank 4 on top of that. So I think it's like a pretty interesting card. Like it can help your good hands extend even better, but it also somewhat contributes to bad hands. But at worst, it's a salad name, not unlike Jaguar or Spinny by itself. So I don't think it's an awful card. Would I play it again moving forward? I think probably not. I was 50-50 on it, and I would kind of want to just play other cards. I kind of missed having more like non-engine cards, which I'll talk about. So a card that I think I should have played if I had known about it, which I didn't until I saw the first place list off Utrecht, was Prohibit Snake. So this is a card that reads, at the start of the damage step, if your Cyber Slink monster battles an opponent's monster, you can send this card from your hand to the grave, return that opponent's monster to your hand. So if you draw any Cyber monster, any way to search this, like if you draw a Debug, for example, you can just search this, which is pretty cool, or mining. Then you can make a Balinx, and then you can out window with it, which is really important because this deck is pretty notorious that this deck has a hard time against window. So just being able to do more than just like hope to draw specifically Jaguar and Spinny, like gives you more combinations of cards that work together to get over window, which is really, really good. And also has a nice graveyard effect where if your Cyber monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to grave, you can banish a card from your graveyard if this card is in your graveyard, and then target any level 4 or lower Cyber monster in your grave and add it back to your hand. So it can add back itself, obviously, but additionally it can add back things like you can add back Debug, you can add back Buffalo, add back Gazelle, like add back any salad really. So it's really nice to just have it there. Now, this card I feel should definitely be in salad deck profiles, but I did not know this card existed, frankly, so that's why I didn't play it. But yeah, definitely this is a great card to have as an answer to problematic cards. It's a good out to sleeper too, which is really, really nice. So yeah, next up we got Circle, 3 mining, we got 1 sanctuary, 3 will. All of this is pretty standard. Some people are still between 2 and 3 will, but I just love having will to be able to just extend as far as I can. And also like it does still somewhat help play through Nibiru, like in certain instances where you open like really, really well. So you'll notice that I didn't play Desires. I wanted to, and then I was kind of like building the deck, and I didn't really know what to cut at the time, so I just decided, let's see how far I get if I play without Desires. And I guess I didn't mention this at the beginning of the video, but I actually managed to get first at my locals. Just gonna throw that in there. So my experience was pretty good with the deck, but I did somewhat miss Desires. It's kind of weird, right? Because like it's hard to evaluate missing Desires because the only cases where you can like truly evaluate that is when you entirely brick with no play. But then like what exactly would you cut for Desires is the question you have to ask yourself. And it depends. Like if you open like hand trap, like salad traps, and like I don't know, Jaguar or something, then like would you really cut any of those cards? Like maybe you would cut certain hand traps or certain trap ratios. So it really just kind of depends. And I'm not even sure what I would entirely cut for desires. It would probably be something like one foul mirror and like one cosmic, which I'll get into, but yeah, something like that. But I also again want to fit prohibit snakes, so it's a kind of a weird thing. But yeah, desires was is probably a necessity in this deck, but I didn't play it because I just couldn't find the space at the time. But probably should play desires. Then we got 2 rage and 2 roar. I really like having these, just to hard draw them honestly, and it's good because rage isn't out to Mystic Mine, which this deck definitely needs, and just being able to have like being able to hard draw them makes their opponent doesn't have like intel on them. They have to make the read, and like it just catches people off guard if you like hard draw. Like if you send rage and hard draw roar, for example, like it catches people off. I really like having them for the grind too, and it'd be more justifiable with desires as well. But even still, it's just nice, and like also just an easy side out stuff going second. Then non-engine cards, we got 3 Ash, which isn't even like that great this format, but because it's solid, I feel like you have to play it. It's just too nice of it to just add it back. 3 Crow, which is my favorite hand trap this format. It isn't really a high impact, but I feel like it's kind of where Ash has historically been, right? Ash has kind of just been like the jack of all trades sort of hand trap, where it won't ever win the game by itself, but it like has a wide coverage, and it still does have wide coverage. But I think this DD Crow hits like more important things at the moment. Like it can hit shut all spells and traps. It can hit, you know, various things in Spiral. Like you can hit Master Plan with it, obviously, or Quick Fix. It's really good in the mirror match, of course. It's good. It just has all around pretty good purpose, except against the control decks. But even then, you can still like, you know, banish something that they target with Manifestation and like Geist or something. So yeah, also really good against Lunalight. 3 Cosmic. I want additional outs to Mystic Mine, but also it's just nice to be able to banish things like a Lunalight Tiger. But I think 3 might have been a bit too much, so maybe cut this down a bit. Also, like you don't need as many outs to Mystic Mine in this deck because you have like Rage and stuff. But yeah, just something to consider. Another thing I would kind of like toy around with would be a Trap Trick build, to be able to like search Rage like more easily, and also play something like a Dynamiscus. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. So yeah, Dynamiscus would be a pretty interesting card in this deck. It's being played a lot in Shaddolls, and it's a lot better in that deck because you can trigger Shaddol effects, obviously. But I still like the fact that if you play Trap Trick, you can toolbox into this, as well as the Imperm that I played. Imperm, I was kind of like 50-50. I didn't hate having it. I don't think it was necessary at 3 either, though. Also, another thing to consider would be Nibiru in the main deck. I think the first place list main deck 2. As well as, I think Simon He also played Salamangreat, and he played the same debug and Buffalo ratio as the first place list, so 3 Buffalo, 2 debug, and also he played 2 Nibiru in the main deck. Both of them played some number of Prohibit Snakes, so those are just some things to keep in mind if you're a solid player. So what would I change if I play this deck again? I'd probably do something like this. This seems like a pretty good lineup. So yeah, just things to consider, but yeah, I'll revert the deck to the way it was. Okay, so yeah, that's going to be it for the main deck. I was pretty happy with it overall, but there would be, of course, the changes that I just mentioned that I would consider making, and it, again, develops, or it depends on how the format develops, I should say. So yeah, extra deck is a Dweller and Bagooska. Bagooska's really nice in against certain decks that aren't as graveyard reliant, but are still pretty combo heavy, so that's not too many of them, but like things like I would probably play this in or put this against Spiral, just because like it's a lot harder for them to, you know, clear your board because they utilize Tough and Agent to like, you know, deal with those kinds of things. So yeah, I would probably put this in against that deck. But yeah, just having the rank 4 ability to flex into certain things is really nice in my opinion. So that's why I kind of again emphasize that in this build. Borload, Hita, Phoenix, 3 Balinks, 2 Heat Leo, 3 Sunlight Wolf, and then update in Transcode. Yeah, I think this is all pretty good. Transcode and Sunlight Wolf turn 1 is really hard for Spiral to beat, which is why I think it's pretty important to just be able to, you know, if you can't make a great board, but you still have access to like an extender on top, like if you have like access to 3 monsters, basically you can just go this play, and that's generally all right. And obviously, update facilitates at OTK, so might as well just incorporate that little package in here. Update Borload is also really, really nice to be able to out stuff like Sleeper. If you manage to get that far, that is. And then the side deck is 3 Nibiru, 3 Twin, 3 Evenly, 3 Duty Ground, 2 Anti-Spell, and 1 Order. So yeah, I really actually like the side deck quite a lot. Another thing to note is that with the Trap Trick build that I mentioned, it makes like searching Duty Ground also a possibility, which is really good because this card actually overperformed quite a lot. It's just really, really good against like the Rocket Dragon Link deck, and just it's good against Lunalight, it's good against the Mirror Match. Like pretty much every combo deck at the moment loses to this card pretty well, and there's like very, very little counterplay to this card. I was gonna play Sanctum and Scythe, but for one, I had my buddy borrowing my 3rd Sanctum. Shout out to you, Johnny, which he offered to give back to me, but I was like, nah, you can hold on to it. And I was like, wait, I kind of want to play this deck. But actually, I was happy I chose this over Sanctum because this just doesn't have any counterplay. Whereas like Sanctum has a very small amount of counterplay in like Ash, or if you shotgun it, like Scythe could get impermed technically, but this just doesn't have any counterplay whatsoever. You just flip it and it's just done. Also, Anti-Spell and Order is there because you really don't want to lose to Mystic Mine, and also it's good against Shaddoll Invoked. Like you put this in against them and it's really, really powerful because like they live and die by fusion summoning, and if they can't, then like even if you stun them for 1 turn, it's salad, right? So like if you cycle all your resources and just play properly, you can always kill them the next turn, like if they just literally pass in a set Shaddoll or something. So yeah, really, really like this package. It was very, very good. And I think actually both the first place list from Utrecht, I'm taking a lot from Utrecht. I haven't looked at the YCS list, or sorry, the Vegas list as much, but from the Utrecht lists that I looked at, both of them I think mained Order, both of the ones that I've seen. So that's also something to think about. Like main decking Order potentially could be good, just as like a hedge towards the popularity of Invoked Shaddoll and Lunalight as well. It's pretty good against. And Anti-Spell is also getting to Lunalight because you can stop Tiger, which is pretty insane. And then Twin and Evenly is obviously for the background matchups. Like I already mained the Cosmics, so you could argue that Twin Twister maybe is a bit much, but this would be Lightning Storm if I owned it, but I don't own Lightning Storm, so that's also a thing. But if you have Lightning Storm, go ahead and play it because it's very, very good. And then Nibiru is again something I would consider main decking for sure. Just the ability to have something game 1 that somebody who is playing a combo deck might not play around is very, very devastating because if people don't actively respect this card, then it can win the game on the spot, obviously. And the reason why like I'm kind of hesitant to play it in the main is that Rocket Dragon Link actually plays around it really, really well, and I should probably do a showcase on that deck as well eventually. But yeah, that deck is also really good against Nibiru because they put up Heretic Seals very early into their combo. So if you Nibiru them too early, well, you have to know when to Nibiru against that deck, because if you Nibiru them too early, then they just use the Heretic Seals to trigger and summon Remedy from their deck anyway, if like you do it on the LP. So that's also something to think about. And also like the builds that are playing Black Metal Dragon, aka the way that Shumping decided to alter his list, like that allows you to play through Nibiru as well because it gets the Remedy to your hand. So like depending on how you structure your combo in that deck, like you have to Nibiru at a very, very like appropriate time, and it highly just depends on their hand. Like their hands can be very, very resilient to disruption, which is why it's kind of scary that the deck is in the format. Other cards in here that I would consider in the side, maybe Dark Ruler. I thought about Dark Ruler, but I just wasn't entirely sure if I could like clear boards of like large monsters. Like if they end on an example, for example, like a big sleeper plus, I don't know, a bunch of other like hard to kill monsters. I was just afraid that I wouldn't be able to like get through all the boards like in that same turn. Just being sure that like I can stop the boards entirely, I felt was like more of a priority for me. And also the Rocket Dragon Link deck again makes really, really big monsters like Savage, Abomination are really, really tough to get over. Because like there's no more Mirage Stelio, it's like you have to kind of make Borload, and like that's kind of just the way that you can out stuff. So like update Borload again could out multiple threats, which is pretty good. But yeah, just things to keep in mind. Like that's not a bad card to include, but kind of the reason I didn't play it was I just wanted to play these other cards instead. So yeah. But yeah, that's going to be it for my take on Salamangreat. You can expect to see pretty much a lot of the decks I've been showcasing in the Road to 1000 series, which I'll be not re-uploading, but like going back to uploading again later this week. I had a busy week last week with school and stuff, so hopefully I'll be able to get out more videos for you guys in the near future. I have a lot of games actually backed up that I haven't gotten the chance to upload yet from like a couple weeks ago, so definitely stay tuned for that. And yeah, that's going to be it. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like as well as any thoughts or feedback in the comment section down below. Feel free to subscribe for more informative and competitive Yu-Gi-Oh content. If you want to, you can follow me on Discord, Twitter, or Twitch. All three links in the description as always. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I'll catch you in the next video. See you guys.